fiber can actually work like sandpaper in the gut if you have a dysbiotic gut. So if you have an inflamed gut, if you have a lot of candida going on, especially if you have something like SIBO, so small intestine bacterial overgrowth, then fiber actually can feed into bad gut bacteria. On the opposite side of it, if you have good gut health and you don't have an inflamed gut and you don't have all of this junk going on in your gut, then it actually feeds into the good gut bacteria. And so there is a nuance to fiber depending upon your story and where you're coming from with fiber. Hello, weary woman. Although you are the weary woman who is here to hear hope and to hear that she doesn't have to stay in that weary place, and that you are here because you know that there are answers out there for you and that you don't have to stay stuck where you are. And I am so thankful that I have walked that road before you. And I am here to tell you that you can come out of it, that there is an answer to all of your problems, and that you do have what it takes to heal your body and to work through the things that are keeping you stuck right now. And so today we're going to talk about the truth about fiber and how that might be wrecking your gut. So if you're here and you're a busy mom and you've got kids, I want to let you know, so do I, and they're here, and I might or might not be wearing pajama pants right now that you can't see. I might be drinking my not coffee right now and just enjoying being here with you and speaking to you. And so I'd love to hear from you and what you're doing and what you're drinking, what's in your cup right now. Let me know, because I want to know who's listening and what's going on in your life. It's what keeps me going, knowing that people are listening and joining in, and that I'm speaking into things that you want to know about. And so if there is a topic that you want to know about, please let me know. I also want to let you know that I am closing in on the last few weeks of offering my one-on-one coaching at a very discounted rate. So I am reorganizing and revamping the program to a 9-month program because I know that the clients that I work with, we need more time together. So I have extended the time that I am working with clients in the package that I'm offering now. So I am offering a 6-month one-on-one coaching package. It also comes with my bonus Made Whole Inner Healing course that I used to offer as a standalone course and just work with women through that. But now I offer HTMA testing plus working through inner healing, and the two just go beautifully hand in hand together because the HTMA test reveals so many things that we can work on, and it reveals like physically how stress and trauma is showing up in your body, which is just an amazing thing and an amazing tool to have. It's something that I used whenever I was walking through burnout and going through the trauma that was all coming to the surface and bubbling to the surface, and all of a sudden my physical body was like, I can't take this no more. Okay, I'm a Christian, I'm not going to cuss, but that's basically what my body was saying. It was screaming and cussing at me, and it was saying, like, you better listen to me or you're headed for the grave pretty early. And you're not going to be able to be a mom. You're not going to be able to pursue your dreams. You're not going to be able to pursue your desires. You're not going to be able to be a good wife if you don't start taking care of me. And so Cassie had to start taking care of Cassie, and I'm here to teach you how to take care of you, because you are a priority. You are the thermostat in your home as a mother and a wife. And when that thermostat gets turned down way too low and you have zero energy to get through your day, then there's a problem going on. You can't be the woman you need to be for your family. And when that thermostat gets raised up too high, again, you're burning through way too many minerals. Your fire is burning too hot for your home. And there's some issues going on, probably some volatile things going on, and you erupt really easily. And so I don't want that for you. You don't want that for you. And so I'm here to give you tools and to talk to you about all of those things. But if you know that you're at a place like I was, where it was like, if I don't get some help quick, we're all going down with this ship. Every single one of us is going down. I am here to offer that to you. And so my one-on-one coaching package is available at a very discounted rate for right now for the next few weeks. Like, it's going to more close to triple in price as I move over into the 9-month program of working with clients. And so you're going to get a 6-month program at a third of the cost, like jump in. It's absolutely worth doing. I paid way more than that when I worked with my coach one-on-one for 9 months. And so I'm offering it to you for way less than what I personally paid. And then after we work together, you have the option for just a one-off HTMA test reading when we get done coaching. And so that's also another perk where you don't have to buy in to working with me one-on-one again. You just get a one-time, here's what's going on with you, here's how you've progressed, here's some things you can still work on. And so you just get to take that after we've worked together for 9 months, because I trust that you know what I've taught you and that you can implement it, because I've been a good coach and you've shown up and you've done the hard work. And I can say, yes, I send you forth with my blessing because you know what you're doing at this point. And the beauty of that is that for me personally, it was like, okay, I wasn't just taking this for me. I also have these tools to spill over into my own daughters as they get older and my children, because one of my sons was having seizures and epilepsy. And so we have been able to kind of work on just things that just groceries that we even bring into the home now. Like there are just some things like I'm just not even going to buy because I know that it's not good for us. And so we're not even going to give ourselves that option to have it in the home. That's one of the easiest ways to stick to a certain, I don't want to say diet because that sounds restrictive, but you understand what I'm saying. It's just not healthy for you. And so as we're going to talk about today, I'll just start with the scripture. I was going to read it at the end, but Ecclesiastes 3:1-2, for everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven, a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted. So there comes a time in most people's lives, especially those of us who eat a Western diet that is full of processed carbs, lots of starchy carbs. We were planning our Thanksgiving meal the other night, and God bless us all, like all the Thanksgiving foods are full of starchy carbs, which gives me an idea. If you want to do something that's not a starchy carb, like just do carrots, like do baked carrots. It's the easiest thing. Drizzle some honey on it, drizzle some crushed red pepper on it or some cayenne pepper. I like cayenne pepper over the crushed red pepper. With a little bit of salt and oil or butter, really good butter, and you just toss it together and you throw it in the oven, and it's like, oh, baked carrots are like our favorite thing now. But for everything, there is a season. And sometimes when we are going through health issues, there are things that we just need to kind of pluck out and prune. And if you can wrap your mind around food being like that we are simply taking some things out for a time so that when the season comes to reintroduce these foods again, it will show greater growth. Okay. You know what I'm talking about. We all trim our rose bushes back come early fall, and so that they will grow and blossom beautifully come summertime, springtime, whatever. And so sometimes that's what we need to do in our diet. We just need to cut a few things back because too much of anything is a bad thing, okay? Too much of even a good thing can be a bad thing. And so that's even as it pertains to fiber in our diet. So let me kind of give you a story, my story. So when I've been on this health journey and I was feeling way better, got my cycle back regular, I was still experiencing ebbs and flows of energy, but for the most part, things were looking a lot better. I still had a few mood swings throughout the month, but overall, compared to where I was, it was like things are much better. And I even began to feel that I had the energy to like begin working out and to begin doing some things that I had never normally done in the past, which was a big thing because whenever I'm just someone like, I kind of ask myself, like, how do I feel about that? And that's kind of like actually, I think, an archetype that I am. Like, I'm very intuitive, and that's just kind of what I'll do. I'll reflect inwardly and be like, do I feel like doing that today? And if it's a no, then it's a no. And a lot of times it does depend on my energetic state. Where am I at energetically and what's going on? Do I have not the willpower, but like the actual energy to do it? And so I was feeling like working out was a good option for me. And so I started that. This was like a little over a year ago, or maybe, yeah, a little over a year ago. So started working out and I was seeing no improvement. So I was eating a very clean diet. I was eating plenty of food because that's another thing. Women will a lot of times put themselves into a deficit when they need to lose weight, which makes sense. However, if you are very mineral depleted and you are in a place where your nervous system is very unregulated, then your body's in a place of shutting everything down and holding on to everything. And so exercising, which can increase your cortisol, and not eating enough can restrict the body even more and make it feel much less safe than it already was feeling. And so if that's your story, you've been working out and you've been eating clean, right? So eating clean looks like eating whole foods. You're not eating processed foods, but yet like I'm still not seeing answers. So I don't understand. This is what we've been taught to do, and maybe this has worked for some. And so logically, that's a lot of where we start because that's kind of what we've been taught. And so my next step was, okay, I joined a workout program. I started following not only a workout program, but I also started eating certain foods. And in this workout program in particular, we upped our fiber, and lots of women were getting lots of results. And so it's definitely a good program. There were some things that I knew for me personally I wasn't going to do, but I followed basically everything but like the fasting part of it. I wasn't going to fast. And so, and we can get into that in another episode if y'all want to talk about it, but I would like to know and hear from you guys what you want me to talk about, because if I'm only talking about what I want to talk about, then I don't know if that's what you guys want to hear. But whenever I started upping my fiber and following the meal plan, I noticed that even though these were clean meals, I would experience, it was bloating, but it was a different kind of bloat. It would feel, my stomach just felt very, let's just call it bloating, but it was a different kind of bloat for me. And I wasn't quite sure what was going on, but I did recognize, okay, the foods that are recommended are just not sitting right with me. I don't know if it's the combination of foods or what, but the one thing that we were very focused on in this one in particular was upping our fiber. And so at the end of the 6 weeks, I hadn't lost any weight, and I also experienced a very unstable cycle. And so I retreated back into my old way, which was very alarming for me, where right before my cycle hit, I experienced a lot of the dysphoria. And so if you've ever had PMDD, where you experience dysphoria right before your cycle, it's very scary, especially when I had come out of it and had not experienced for quite some time, and I was now experiencing it. And I was able to kind of get some questions answered from someone where she did say, this could just be your body's way of adjusting. It does take about 2 months sometimes for the body to adjust. And so it can take about 2 cycles for your body to kind of adjust to this new eating habit and things like that. But for me, I just recognized, I was like, okay, I think it's just too big of a deficit for me, and my body's just not getting the adequate nutrients that it needs. And then something's going on. My stomach is not tolerating whatever I'm eating from this. And so I just kind of let everything go. I stopped working out. I quit worrying about my weight because I was a good 30 pounds overweight from the time that I had my 5th baby. So even during burnout, which is interesting, I had my 4th baby, and then like that was burnout for me, like never recovered. But I lost the weight. I don't remember having this like very awful self-image of like, oh my gosh, I am like, I can't wear the same things that I used to wear. My body is like not losing the weight that it needed to. But after the 5th baby, even though I was taking very good care of myself, I was eating a lot more, but I wasn't eating anything like processed, and you would think that like if I'm eating clean, why is my body not responding well? And not only that, I'm taking all of these very targeted supplements to make sure that I'm replenishing what I know for sure was depleted. Not only that, I'm working on myself inwardly, letting go of unforgiveness, letting go of bitterness, speaking up for myself, giving myself more me time, all of these things, right? So I then stumbled upon what's called the GAPS diet, and it stands for gut and physiology syndrome. And I started listening to some of the mentors in the HTMA course that I'm taking. And she started talking about how fiber can actually work like sandpaper in the gut if you have a dysbiotic gut. So if you have an inflamed gut, if you have a lot of candida going on, especially if you have something like SIBO, so small intestine bacterial overgrowth, then fiber actually can feed into bad gut bacteria. And so on the opposite side of it, if you have good gut health and you don't have an inflamed gut and you don't have all of this junk going on in your gut, then it actually feeds into the good gut bacteria. And so there is a nuance to fiber depending upon your story and where you're coming from with fiber. And so when I learned this, it kind of was like a light bulb going off. But then there is the question, okay, there are some people that they don't go to the bathroom at all if they don't take fiber. And so when you are talking about, well, actually fiber is keeping your gut inflamed, then there's the opposite side of the question is like, well, how am I even going to go to the bathroom? Because the only way I go to the bathroom is if I make sure I have enough fiber. And so it's very interesting that if you begin to cut fiber out of your diet, which is what I did, we are going to increase fats. And so fats can basically replace fiber in the body. And then fat, if you just think about it, if you have butter sitting out on your counter, it never goes rancid. And so it doesn't go rancid in your body. Animal fats are extremely healthy for you. They are, if you look at their makeup of composition, like the calories and your saturated fats and all of the fats that are in animal fats compared to breast milk, it's a very much the same. It's a very comparable food. And compared to like if you're going to do olive oil or avocado oil or even coconut oil, animal fats are very likened to breast milk, mother's breast milk. And so when we're talking about animal fats, they're superior to some of the plant-based, even healthy fats. Coconut oil being a really good one, and olive oil, as long as you're not cooking with it because it has a low heat point. But animal fats are extremely healthy. So here's the thing about fiber. It can be really good and it can be really bad. It's neither good nor bad, but it depends on where your gut health is. If you, for example, I've worked with numerous clients who have an autoimmune disease where it affects their mouth. They have blisters in their mouth. They have inflamed gums. And if you have anything going on in your mouth, this is the first place of digestion. So if this piece of digestive tract has got blisters on it, imagine how many blisters you have going on in the rest of your digestive tract. So whatever's going on here is a representation of what's going on here. Any type of skin disorder, even dry skin, definitely eczema, any type of psoriasis, these types of things, if you have any kind of autoimmune disease going on, if you have any kind of chronic health issue going on at all, I don't care if it's you're struggling with infertility, you have irregular cycles, like you have a health issue going on, you have a gut issue going on. And so here's where fiber comes into play, because the world has taught us that fiber is very good, and it is very good. It's obviously in our foods. God gave it to us. So it can be good, but it can be bad. And so when you have an inflamed gut, fiber going into the gut acts like sandpaper on a raw wound. You have redness, you have inflammation, you have soreness, you basically have a big scab. So think of if you have bad gut health, you have one big scab. And so what are you going to do if you have a scab? You want to put soothing balm on it. And so upping your fat intake acts as a soothing balm on the gut. And so upping your animal fats and healthy fats can be extremely healing for the gut. And so I do want to talk about the upsides and the downsides of both fibers. So even though I've already mentioned them, I just want to like list them here. So an upside when the gut is healthy is that fiber feeds good gut bacteria. It supports detox and hormone balance because it does act as a binder, and it can bind to things and like help them come out of the stool. And then it can help regulate blood sugar and fullness. And so a lot of people factor in when they're counting their carbs and making sure that they're getting, if you're counting your macros, especially for blood sugar regulation, you're going to cancel out some of those carbs with your fibers and your certain sugar alcohols, right? But fat can do the same thing. It's satiating. The upside of fiber can be that it promotes regularity. Like I said, some people can't even go to the bathroom unless they're taking a fiber supplement. And then it can support gentle weight loss. And so that's why upping fiber in a lot of the weight loss programs is a big deal. However, the downside of upping fiber or getting a lot of fiber into your diet when the gut is inflamed is that it feeds bad gut bacteria, especially if you have SIBO or candida overgrowth. Thank you. If you have candida overgrowth, here's some signs of candida overgrowth: itchy, flaky scalp, yeast infections of any kind, fungusy toenails. Anything like I had yeast when I was breastfeeding one time. So anytime I would breastfeed, like, oh my gosh, it would burn so bad. And I thought that he was latching wrong. And I would like constantly take him off and try to relatch him, and then figured out, okay, this isn't actually him latching wrong. This is actually just a burning sensation going on. And it was yeast. So too much fiber on a bad gut can irritate the gut lining, again, acting like sandpaper on a raw wound. It can actually block mineral absorption. So too much fiber can block mineral absorption, especially calcium, magnesium, zinc, and iron. Again, but it can also act as that binder. And so it's going to bind to good and bad things. And so it can bind to good nutrients and actually pull them from the body as well. It can trigger bloating and fatigue, which was a big one for me. It definitely triggered bloating. And then it can stall weight loss if you've obviously got an inflamed gut going on, because you're also not absorbing nutrients and it's causing the irritation in the gut. And so it's restricting the body once again, because the body's constantly fighting and trying to feel safe again. And so this can all show up on, this can then show up if we test and fiber is one of the big things you've been focusing on. We can look at it and go, okay, well, this might be what's keeping your gut inflamed, which is then causing malabsorption in the gut and the intestines. And so, right, it's not about how much minerals we consume, it's about how much minerals and nutrients that we're absorbing in our gut. And so we may be consuming certain amounts every day, but how much are we actually absorbing? That really, really matters in the long run for sure. And so fiber and detox, let's talk about that, because this is a big one that I found very interesting. So fiber supports detox by binding to toxins, excess hormones, and waste if the liver and gut are already functioning well. I think that's huge. We don't talk about that. Most people's liver is way overburdened, especially if you're overweight. If you are overweight and you've been trying to lose weight and you haven't thought about opening up the detox pathways, this is huge. You've got to support the liver and the lymphatic system if you're going to try and lose weight. And so what comes with supporting the liver? It comes with supporting bile flow. How do we support bile flow? We up our fats. Okay, so this all goes hand in hand. But when bile flow is sluggish, which is definitely a common pattern that I see on HTMA whenever I am dealing with women in burnout or chronic health issues, especially if their calcium is high, their sodium is low, their potassium is tanked, their adrenals are tanked, their thyroid is tanked. Too much fiber is going to help actually cause these toxins to be trapped in the gut, which can lead to reabsorption rather than elimination. So those toxins that should be eliminated through the bowels is actually getting reabsorbed. So this is a common thing that you're going to see with high estrogen in women. You've got estrogen recycling back through the body instead of being eliminated. And so when you've heard of estrogen dominance, okay, fiber could be causing more estrogen to be recycled back through the body because the gut is not working properly. This all starts in the gut and with mineral balancing. So one thing that we work on together is not only do we work on rebalancing the minerals, but we're also going to look at why is the liver overburdened? In other words, emotionally, what are you holding on to? What are you holding on to that you need to expel emotionally and spiritually so that you can free up the body so that it can begin to take a deep breath and feel safe again in order to detox these things and get rid of these things. So as you begin to release emotional baggage, you will begin to see the body to detox a lot more steadily and have more stability. And so with those things, you will see blood sugar regulation, energy stability. You will see a lot where your bandwidth can hold more. So you're not so overwhelmed all the time. You have more stable energy where you can actually work on the things that you want to work on. You have a lot less negative self-talk. You begin to see brain fog leave. You begin to see, just things that you've recognized are not okay in your body anymore, but you just kind of wrote them off maybe as you just getting older, or, you know, you just had a bad day because you were really stressed out, or you just had too much going on. These things begin to solve themselves as you begin to really target and work on your health and your emotional state, and letting go of the things you've been holding on to for so long, beginning to become just aware. Like on the last episode, we talked about the fawning and what fawning looks like. It's actually a central nervous system response to being in fight or flight for way too long. And you begin to fawn. You begin to be the people pleaser. You're known as the good girl. And this is a trauma response from the body. And so when you begin to become aware of these patterns in your life that the HTMA can reveal, you begin to pick up on these things and you go, oh, I don't need to do that anymore. Oh, let's retrain the body and the brain and the way that it's thinking about these things, and begin to teach the body that it's safe, that conflict can be good, that it actually allows things that are under the surface to bubble up and rise to the top so that we can actually work through them instead of continuing to stuff them down. You begin to not take on other people's emotions, things like that. So go listen to the last podcast episode if that's something that you're interested in. Okay, so going back to fats, and in other words, fats replace fiber in function. So it supports the gentle detox in the body. It supports blood sugar stability and balancing. And then it's a win-win because it doesn't irritate the gut the way that fiber would. And so it begins to allow the body to go, okay, we no longer have to fight to try to heal this thing that keeps getting open and open and open. We can now focus on healing so that then the body is able to actually focus its energy on healing other parts of the body whenever you begin to give the gut and digestion a place of rest. And so here's some like practical things you can do to eat your way out of inflammation and give your gut the proper nutrients that it needs, but cooked in a way and prepared in a way that gives your gut time to rest. And so I will say this, it takes a while. For some people, like specifically following a GAPS diet, it can take up to 9 months. I've been on the GAPS diet for 3 months and don't see myself coming off of it anytime soon. Personally, whenever I began to cut out fiber and up my fats and eat foods that were gentle on the gut, I was not working out. I wasn't moving my body anymore. I wasn't focused on weight loss, but I naturally lost about 15 pounds, and I haven't even weighed myself on the scale. I maybe have lost more than that, but within about 6 weeks, I had lost a good almost 15 pounds by not even focusing on weight loss, but just on focusing on healing my gut. I quit eating foods that were feeding bad gut bacteria, right? So I was pruning away so that those things could die off. And then I was feeding myself things that were replenishing the gut. So good meat stocks and very gelatinous cuts of meat are two things that I focus on. But here are specifically some things that once you have cut out a lot of those fibers and you've given your gut time to heal, and you feel like maybe I can start reintroducing some fibers again, you want to reintroduce them in stages. You want to make sure you're reintroducing gentle and soluble fibers. So there's non-soluble fibers and there's soluble fibers. And so if you want to just research and put into Google or ChatGPT what foods are soluble fibers, you can do that. So once the digestion feels that it's calmer, it can handle these things better. It can begin to digest them better. And if just cutting out fiber alone is probably not going to heal your gut. So let me just say that there's a lot to it, but this is just one piece to the puzzle. Because if we were to address all of it, there would be, a good like week-long teaching on all of it and how to implement it and how to go into it and all of those things. But this is one piece to the puzzle, and so keep following along. If you want more pieces to the puzzle, I will gladly share them all. And of course, if you want to join me in my one-on-one coaching program, then we will go through all of this and I'll give you all the tools, all the handouts, all the recipes on how to heal your gut and rebalance your minerals. So less bloating. Once digestion feels calmer, you will know this because you'll have less bloating, regular bowel movements, and more energy. Hallelujah. We all want more energy so that we can do the things we love. Play with our kids, be the grandparents that we want to be. That's my goal, is that when I become a grandparent, I want to know that I have the energy to watch my children, my grandchildren, to play with my grandchildren, and to be their entire world, okay? And so you can begin to start adding soothing soluble fibers at this point. If you feel like you've had less bloating and regular bowel movements with more energy, small and slow. So small and slow is always the best. So the best soluble fibers can be something like cooked apples. So you want to peel the skin off because then you're taking away the unsoluble fibers, and you're cooking down the apples to make it easy digestion for the body. You're by cooking it down, you're taking away one step of digestion, okay? You're making it easier for the body to digest and absorb. Pears, which again would need to be peeled and cooked. Oats can be good if they're tolerated, so especially overnight oats. So the point of soaking these things, like you've heard of soaked overnight oats, and same with chia seeds. Chia seeds are kind of popular to put in your oats and soak it all overnight. You are breaking down anti-nutrients within the foods. And so this is very, very important. This is why we ferment foods. So let's take cabbage, for example. We're going to turn it into sauerkraut. We're just fermenting it for a week or two before we begin to eat it. It's giving time for nutrients to be broken down, and then good bacteria begins to grow, and then we're able to eat it. And we now, because all the nutrients have been broken down, then now the body is able to absorb it. And so if we were just to eat raw cabbage or non-fermented cabbage, we're eating it and the body has to break it down. But if the body doesn't have everything that it needs to be broken down, so most of us are low on stomach acid and low on certain enzymes. And so those two things are very important to feed back into the gut so that we can break down foods. And so if you cut out fiber for a while and then you try to reintroduce it and you still have all the same issues, then there's something else missing. There's got to be some more healing that happens, and probably more things to try, not just keep cutting out fiber, okay? Root vegetables are really good cooked down and soft. So you want to be careful here. So something like a sweet potato or a potato, if you're going to consume that, that is a starchy carb that is going to feed bad gut bacteria. So if you have bad gut bacteria going on, like candida or SIBO, then you want to stay away from starchy carbs or anything sugary that's going to feed into bad gut bacteria. So those are things, for example, that I'm staying away from right now, and that has helped me lose the weight. But anything like squash, beets, zucchini, carrots, anything that's cooked and soft is going to be really easy on the gut to digest, and it's going to have broken down a lot of the fibers so that the body doesn't have such a hard time eating it. So you can do carrots, but you don't want to do raw carrots, because raw carrots and raw vegetables are very hard to digest in the body. So I was working with a client recently, and she said that she thinks raw vegetables are the healthiest thing that you could eat. And I was like, well, actually, and whenever I told her that they're very hard to digest and the body doesn't have the proper tools to break down those nutrients within the raw vegetables, she was kind of like blown away. She's like, really? I've been doing this all wrong. It's like, well, you haven't been doing it wrong. Let's just take it a step further. Let's just cook these vegetables down and give it an extra. So you've already done part of the digesting for your body, and you're making it much easier. And so your body doesn't have to expend all of this energy digesting and breaking down foods. You've already taken that step out for it, and you're still able to give it the good nutrients that it needs. And so just remember that when you're cooking, you want to soak as much as you can. So if you're going to eat, almonds or some type of nut, then that's going to be hard on the gut digestion. So you want to soak those things and make them easier to digest. You want to boil your vegetables before you eat them. And so anything that you can make smooth, you can cook it down and make sure it's not feeding into bad gut bacteria. Those are some really helpful things that you can do to begin to heal your gut so that you're not experiencing all of that bloating and inflammation in such a terrible way. So your key takeaway for today is that fiber is not good or bad, but it can be good and bad. It just depends on where you're at in your health journey. And so if you've been trying all of the things and fiber is one thing that you haven't tried to cut out, and upping your fat intake has not been the thing that you replace it with, then try that. Try and see if that works. And if you try that and you still don't have answers, I'm here for you. We can work together. Just reach out to me, contact@CassieHutton.com, or there's the link for the root cause clarity call. Just click on that and take advantage of your free call. So with that, I will see you guys on the next episode. If you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify podcasts, you can now watch me over on YouTube, which I'm really excited to be offering that option. And join me on the next podcast episode. I'll see you there.